Today we're making the most delicious, fall off the bone, baby back ribs you've ever had in your life. And we're using the oven. Meet me in the kitchen, let's make it happen. All right guys, so first things first, we're gonna go ahead and prep our ribs. The prep is pretty much the same whether you got spare ribs or baby back. What you wanna do is take a nice sharp knife and just remove any of this excess fat that was not trimmed at the butcher shop. Anything that's gonna kind of burn up during the cooking process, anything that's hanging off the ribs, you wanna trim that up. No right or wrong way to do it. Once you got that done, we're gonna go ahead and remove the membrane. This is optional, you don't have to remove it, but I prefer to because one, it doesn't get quite as tender, and two, you can't really penetrate the membrane with the seasoning. So once you get the membrane started, I like to do that with either a knife or a spoon. You can use a paper towel like this to just kind of grip it. The paper towel helps with gripping. You can also use like a hand towel. Once you get it started, just pull it right off like so. Super easy, guys. It looks more difficult than it actually is. That's all you got to do right there. So once we have the membrane removed, I like to add a little bit of liquid smoke before I add the mustard. It's going to act as a binder, but the liquid smoke's going down first. That way we can get a little bit of that smoky flavor that we're missing from the grill. We're going to, cheat a little bit and make sure we get a little bit of that on our ribs. Don't go crazy because this stuff kind of packs a punch. A little bit goes a long way. So we're going to just add a little bit of that and then about a tablespoon or so of yellow mustard. If you don't want to use yellow mustard, you can use olive oil, any kind of oil or hot sauce will work as well. But I like to use it as a binder. That way the rub really sticks to the ribs. Get you a nice bark. I learned this rib recipe from one of my friends that was doing competition barbecue, and I've been sticking with it ever since. So it's pretty similar to some other stuff that you see online with a few minor adjustments. Obviously the same recipe works perfect in the smoker, but for those of you guys that don't have a smoker or a grill, or if it's just too damn cold outside like it is right now, we're to make this in the oven. A little AP and then your favorite barbecue rub. The seasoning may look a little thick, but both of these products are pretty low in sodium, so you don't have to worry about that. So at this point, you just want to repeat the same process for the top side, and then we're gonna get that in the oven at 275 for about 2.5 hours. All right guys, so if you're familiar with any of the rib recipes on the internet, this is a variation of the 3-2-1 method. We're gonna pop this in the oven uncovered, unwrapped for about 2.5 hours at 275 degrees. So after about 2.5 to 3 hours in the oven, it's time to wrap the ribs. The wrapping process ensures they get nice and tender. It kind of steams them a bit. We're going down with a few tablespoons of butter on the bottom side. We're gonna hit that with some brown sugar and some honey. Now for the liquid, you can use anything from chicken or veggie stock to beer to apple juice, pineapple juice, anything like that will work great. Today we have a little bit of Mexican beer, a little Modelo. We're gonna lay the ribs meat side down with the bone sticking up like this. And then we're gonna hit that with some more butter, brown sugar, honey, wrap it up nice and tight, get it back in the oven for about 1.5 hours. And that, my friends, quite possibly the best barbecue sauce on the internet. One day I'm gonna draw this up and sell it, so go ahead and steal the recipe now while you still can. 2 tablespoons of butter going in. We're also gonna add some brown sugar. All the specific measurements and ingredients for this recipe will be found in the description box below, so don't forget to check that out. Getting the party started with some butter and brown sugar, followed by some ketchup. About a cup of that. We're gonna eyeball it since I've made this 100 times now. We're also gonna add a little bit of liquid smoke, again, because we're not smoking these ribs today, but we still wanna get a little bit of the essence of that flavor. So a few dashes of that. All right, so one of my favorite components of this recipe is actually the chipotles and adobo. Adds a wonderful like smoky flavor, a little bit of heat as well. Just one of my favorite flavor profiles on a barbecue sauce that I've kind of come up with, and I have not deviated from it since we started doing this. So I only use the juice from the can though. You don't want to use the peppers. You could blend them up and add them in there if you wanted to be extra spicy, but I find that just the juice is perfect. At this point, we're just gonna get our spatula and kind of mix everything together before we add the final ingredients. We're also gonna add a bit of honey to this to add a little bit more sweetness. Just mix all of those components together. You got the chipotle pepper and adobo sauce, you got the brown sugar, you got the ketchup. Just gonna mix this over medium-low heat. I'm gonna go ahead and add in the honey. Give that a good mix. You can kind of taste as you go, adjust the flavor to your preference. If you want to spice it up again, you can add those chilies. If you need to sweeten it up a bit, you can add the brown sugar or the honey. If you need to add some seasoning, by all means, a little salt and pepper or my AP seasoning works great here. Last but not least, the molasses is probably in the back of your pantry collecting dust. Make sure you check the date on it. Just a little bit of that. And just give that a mix. That's gonna help with the color and the consistency. Obviously a little bit of sweetness as well. All right guys, so we went ahead and unwrapped the ribs. They were in there wrapped for about 2 hours. What you're checking for when you unwrap the ribs is that they're tender. So you wanna see that, you know, you can get a thermometer, a toothpick, anything like that that'll probe right through there with little to no resistance. As you can see, unless I hit a bone, it's going in very easily. That lets you know that the meat is nice and tender. If you want them to fall off the bone, you can cook them a little bit longer. I like mine to have a little bit of bite to them, but it's totally up to you, personal preference. As you can see, these are pretty tender. Now, once they're sauced up beautifully like you see right here, I'm gonna pop them in the oven at about 325, let that sauce caramelize, and we'll be ready to cut. And this is the part where I say, brace yourself for a trademark money shot. Say it with me, guys, looking good. The only thing left to do is dig in here for the taste test. But before we do that, please take a quick second to subscribe to the channel. Make sure you hit that bell to enable notifications as well. Now, my friends, it's time for the moment of truth. If you don't have a smoker or a grill, you can still make delicious ribs right in the oven. That sauce. So we have the membrane for the final, that's too much words. You're not gonna have enough B-roll for all that, huh?
Yeah.
Getting the party started, Jesus Christ. So a few dashes of that. Jesus Christ.